The NFL, Joe Burrow is the least accomplished.
Getting better.
1,000,000%. I 1,000,000% believe that the Dayton Flyers are afraid of the Wright State Raiders. That's why they come up with every excuse in the book not to play them.
There it is. The hottest take of them all. It's the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Another loss for the Reds, another error for Ellie De La Cruz, another big contract dished out by the Cincinnati Bengals. Just another day of, well, being fans here locally of our local teams. How about that? Welcome in. Happy, what is today? Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. Justin Kinner Show. Justin Kinner with you here. Excited to be with you here. We're getting closer and closer to the big game, not the game. Of course, that's how you cap off the season, but it is the biggest game of week 1 in college football. Ohio State, Texas. Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports. We're going to hang out with him coming up here around the corner. Excited to chat with him. What do you guys want to start out with? The Reds are plummeting, or the Bengals finally did something good and got a deal done? Which one do you want to start with? Let's start with the Bengals. Let's kick the show off with the Cincinnati Bengals, shall we? How about this happen? So this happened yesterday. In the middle, not really in the middle, it was as the show was ending, that the Cincinnati Bengals finally get a deal done with, of course, our guy Trey Hendrickson. Shaw says, how about we start off? Shaw wants us to start talking about them soft-ass Buckeyes. A lot's been made of banning of Dave Portnoy. And, Shaw and I, you and I, we disagree on a lot of stuff. I don't know what to believe, whether they banned him or not, but I do think it's a soft look. If I'm Ohio State, you just won a national championship. I would love, I don't mean to, you hijacked the show, Shaw. You see what you did? You got me all thrown off here. No. We're going to wait. We're going to talk about the Dave Portnoy thing. Jason Fitz is going to hang out with us coming up here around the corner. But Shaw, to be fair, I did think it was a soft move. And if in fact they were trying to effort to ban him from coming to the shoe, I think that's a soft move. As far as that goes. But that's not what we're opening up with. The Cincinnati Bengals yesterday, it was announced as the show was ending that the hold-in with, of course, our guy Trey Hendrickson has officially come to an end. Bengals and Trey Hendrickson reached an agreement yesterday on a $14 million raise for this upcoming season, boosting his 2025 salary up to $30 million. Now, again, Max Crosby's getting 35. We know Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, 40, 41, respectively in that range. Trey Hendrickson getting up to 30. I actually think that's a fine number. I think that he could have got 35. I still would not have put him in that category with the Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, 40 mil. I can't. Trey is not worth 40 mil a year. But 30 mil a year, I think, is the sweet spot. 30 to 35 in the range for Trey Hendrickson. So I had said for a while that if the Bengals cave and pay him, that I was going to actually criticize the Bengals, because if you were willing to pay him this whole time, why would you not have just paid him to begin with, to avoid the drama, to avoid the noise, to avoid the mess that always seems to follow the Bengals? To their credit, they paid him, yes, but they did it in a way that I'm a fan of. Jay Morrison, who was on with us a couple weeks ago, I remember one of the final appearances that he had on Off the Bench with us. We asked him to predict how all of this was going to unfold. And one of the predictions that he had was, and by the way, he did predict Labor Day signing. Just a week before Labor Day, but that's besides the point. But that the last appearance he had with us on Off the Bench, he had said that how they envision it going is eventually they're going to work out a deal where they're just going to give him a huge bump in pay for 2025, and then that way he's happy for this season, and the Bengals will be happy to not have to give guaranteed money to someone into their 30s. Still think it's a silly philosophy. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I don't, Cleveland makes a lot of mistakes with money. I get that, but I don't think they're going to regret giving Myles Garrett money into his 30s. The Steelers aren't going to regret giving TJ Watt money into his 30s. The only thing this tells me is that teams are not afraid to give a player money into his 30s if they are a once-in-a-generation type talent. I just don't think that the Bengals look at Trey Hendrickson that way. The prediction that Jay Morrison had about how this was going to be handled is how it played out. And I think this was the best for both sides. I never once blamed the Bengals for not wanting to have a long-term deal in place with Trey Hendrickson. I thought it was silly because I think it's kind of dumb about the 30, the age thing. But at the same time, they have the right to say, hey, then they were the most consistent. They didn't flip-flop. They were against giving him money deep into his 30s or middle of his 30s, and they never wavered on that. The Bengals won this. The Bengals won this at the end of the day. Trey Hendrickson wanted long-term, job security or guaranteed money security, all that. He didn't get that. Trey Hendrickson lost this. To the Bengals' credit, they won. They didn't win in the negotiation with Jamar Chase. They lost that. They sure as hell didn't win in the negotiation with T. Higgins. They lost that as well. Now, it's funny to say that a team lost. You get Jamar Chase for the next couple of years. You get T. Higgins for the next couple of years. It's not like they lost, but they lost the wage war, if you will. They spent way more on those guys than they needed to because of their stubbornness. So they lost that negotiation. They didn't lose this one. They're going to get Trey Hendrickson back, their best defensive player, NFL sack leader. They're getting him back, and they're getting him back with 2 weeks before week 1 of the NFL season. I think this was a good thing for Cincinnati. It was they won. The front office won. Duke Tobin, all right, Katie Blackburn, the Brown family, they won. That's a good thing for them. Good for them. They were getting pushed around by players for far too long. They'd had enough. They weren't against giving him this pay raise. This pay raise was, it made sense. But Trey stood his ground a little bit. You got to wonder, throwing Zach Taylor under the bus and some of the others during this, is that going to make things awkward? I think all these players and coaches, every time I've talked to Byers or anybody else who's played in the NFL, everyone understands that that's just part of it. Micah Parsons, if things get better in Dallas, he's going to show up to practice. He's going to move forward. If Dallas ever wins anything big, if they make the playoffs, he'll hug Jerry Jones. It'll all be water under the bridge. It just gets a little dicey, gets a little bumpy. But when the results come, as a result of the signing and the extension and everything else, winning cures all. Will winning cure all in this situation? It doesn't matter. Trey Hendrickson's in the Bengals are in a very good spot here because they could tag him after this year. Now it's an expensive tag. It's like a 36 to 40 mil tag, but that's the thing. If Trey Hendrickson goes out and balls out again and has 15 plus sacks on the season and they tag him, well, that's all guaranteed money to Trey Hendrickson. He wins that, and the Bengals get another year of the NFL sack leader or one of the best pass rushers in football. Trey Hendrickson will be tough to replace. If Trey Hendrickson didn't play, if the Bengals would have moved on from Trey Hendrickson, they would not have been able to find a suitable replacement for him. Okay, Shamar Stewart's not the replacement for him, and maybe he is, but let's say that Shamar Stewart becomes the replacement for Trey Hendrickson. Okay. You've replaced Trey Hendrickson's production, but how much better is the defense? What the Bengals need is a duo. They need that tandem. There's a reason the Raiders were looking to find a way to add Trey Hendrickson there with Max Crosby. There's a reason the Browns kicked the tires on potentially adding Trey Hendrickson with the Myles Garrett. There's a reason that a lot of teams were stepping up, trying to, the Lions were linked to it for a little bit. There's a lot of teams, they don't have the Bengals mindset of, well, we have Trey Hendrickson, we have our pass rusher. No, you need both. You need two guys that are going to be good at getting to the quarterback and guys that could stop the run. That's the problem with Trey Hendrickson. He can't stop the run. But overall, I think it's a good move for Cincinnati. I bury them a lot, but I can respect the fact that they stuck to their guns on this. That they didn't back down. They didn't waver on this. For anyone that thinks, oh, what do you mean they caved? They gave them a lot of money that they didn't have to for this upcoming season. That was the right thing to do. They weren't against doing the right thing when it came to that. They just did not want to give the money deep into the back end. Still think that's silly, but that's where we're at as far as that goes. Now, the question I have for Bengals fans is this, because it's all about perspective too and how you want to look at it. Did the Cincinnati Bengals have a good offseason? Do they have a good offseason? Now, the homer spin on this is, and I've seen it from Cincinnati media who needs access to the team, so they say nothing but glowing things about them. I disagree wholeheartedly. Did they have a successful offseason? I have never seen a team fight so hard to keep a non-playoff roster intact. I am dumbfounded at just how hard. Think about it. It is August, what is today? The 26th. So August 25th. The Bengals, from the time Joe Burrow started his little media tour at the Super Bowl week, all the way to August 25th. That's how hard the players and the front office were fighting to get these deals done and to find a way to find some common ground. And all they ended up with was the same exact damn roster from last year, along with Noah Fant. I don't think this has been a successful offseason at all. I've never seen a team fight so hard to keep a non-playoff roster intact the way that the Bengals just did. If they would have done all three of those moves, Jamar T and Trey Hendrickson, and then they were aggressive in free agency, Now that's a different story. This isn't about the moves they made. It's more about it seems like this is all watered down because of what they didn't do around it. Shaw says, I disagree. If they were going to hold on this long, then they may as well have held on longer, such a chicken bleep organization. I disagree. I think that the Bengals needed Trey Hendrickson. Now, I say that knowing that I've also said in recent weeks that, hey, they had the worst defense in the NFL with you. They could have it without you. But at the same time, if that worst defense in the NFL has any chance of getting better, the only way it has a chance of getting better is to have the NFL sack leader on it. The Bengals are not anything here. They're not out anything. This doesn't hurt them. They got what they wanted. They didn't want to extend him long term, but they wanted him to play on his final year of the contract. They gave him that $14 million raise for the upcoming season to get him to about close to what the market range is for that. And both sides are ready to move on and compete and go from there. Shaw, you know me. I'm always looking for a reason to bash on the Bengals and beat up on the Bengals. I just don't think I would have been mad if they would have came out and said they, got to a 3-4 year extension with all these guarantees. I would have been pissed because the Bengals could have avoided all this drama and noise had they just agreed to this sooner, or if they were willing to do it. The Bengals, to me, they stood their ground. They were against paying him into his 30s. They were against it. They were never going to do it, and they didn't. I got to give them credit. I give them credit as far as how they handled this at the end of the day. Nonetheless, but Shaw says this has been a dreadful offseason, no more than 8 wins max, and missed the playoffs again. The defense got worse. That I agree with you. I think it was a dreadful offseason. I'm not going to give them credit for paying Jamar Chase. You had to pay Jamar Chase. The Bengals had $30 million in cap space still remaining, and they had all these deficiencies. Your offensive line stinks. Your special teams was horrible. Your defense was horrible. And yet you have $30 million. So the Eagles have $24 million in cap space available. How come you're not mad at them for not spending all their money? No team is perfect, but damn it, the Eagles, they're going to sit on some of that money to roll over into next season. They don't have a lot of deficiencies. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they're the defending Super Bowl champions, and they're pretty damn buttoned up on every facet of the ball, right? Like, I think when you are a team like the Bengals that has as many deficiencies as they do, to come into this season with close to $30 million in cap space still available, and you have all these holes, I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem. So that's why I can't sit here and say, this was not a good offseason. Oh, they gave money. They extended Jamar Chase. They had to. Oh, they kept T. Higgins. I don't think that was a good move. You have T. Higgins. That's great. That was not a good move. Because when your defense is putrid this upcoming season, you're going to wish that the money that they wasted on a second number 1 wide receiver that they didn't need could have been used to fine-tune and add weapons to this defense for a new defensive coordinator coming in. So I disagree. I agree with Shaw. I mean, like, at the end of the day, I do not think that the offseason was a good one for the Bengals. And this caps off the offseason. I know we're technically 2 weeks away from the regular season, but this was an offseason problem that lingered into the preseason. Now we could book it. That was it. That was the 2025 offseason for the Bengals, and I think it was horrendous. They got a deal done with Jamar Chase, yes, and they spent way more on him than they had to because of how poorly they handled it. Not a good move. You got Jamar Chase for $20 million more than you should have spent over the duration of that contract. And then on top of that, you take the $20 million more on the full length of the contract plus the $30 million a year for T. Higgins. You just wasted $50 million that could have been used elsewhere to improve this team. It's a bad move. And, getting the deal done with Trey Hendrickson, cool. But again, you were horrible with him. You'd have been horrible without him. It's a smart move. The way they did it, I thought, was a smart way to go about that one. But it's underwhelming. Everyone's like, man, the Bengals, they got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson done. I thought they were cheap. I've never said they're cheap. I said they spend money poorly. This was proof of it. They didn't spend money wisely. This was a bad offseason. It just was. Your defense was horrendous. You had Noah Fant. Your defense was horrendous. You bring back Mike Gesicki. I don't know what to say about that, but nonetheless, it all comes down to how does the regular season go? How do they make the playoffs? But I don't think they did enough to make any kind of, I just don't think they're going to be very good. I think the offense is going to be fantastic. I just don't think this team's going to be very good when it's all said and done. All right. the Justin Kinner Show presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. Let's see. It's 3:20. Is that what we got? Yep. Jason Fitz is going to join us in 5 minutes. We'll be right back. Jason Fitz with Yahoo Sports. Ohio State getting set to take on Texas. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Kev just sent a text. Of course, he's going to jump in and hang out with Jason Fitz tonight. So we'll be right back. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, and Jason Fitz when we come back. And the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits. I'm Justin Kinner, and look who tagged in.
What up, though?
What the hell you want? Why'd you come in?
Heard you got a cool guest, man.
Oh, you didn't want to? Oh, I wonder what
I
Kinner's
see you
doing.
all the time, man.
By the way, look at the. I'm gonna have to order another one. So this one doesn't fade. I need it to stay crisp.
Yeah. I thought you was talking about how good it fits on you now.
Oh no, I'm gaining weight again. I gotta fix that. We gotta fix that. But nonetheless, band noon kickoffs. It's taken off today because of the Portnoy thing.
Oh yeah.
Nonetheless,
banned and then unbanned,
but still maybe banned, according to Bobby Carpenter. I'm not really sure what's going on, but I love media beef. Big beef. We welcome you guys back again. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, hanging out, and not to hang out with me, obviously to see you guys, but because we kick off our season weekly interview with our guy Jason Fitz. Jason, good morning. How are you? Good afternoon, whatever the hell it is.
I'm spectacular, boys. Like, it feels good. And look, unpopular opinion, I think noon kickoffs rock. Like, look, I'm all in on noon kickoffs. I know y'all don't like them. I know Big Ten fans are angry about. Like, give me a great game, right? Like, it is the worst when you sit there and you look. If we're just being honest for a second, and I'm not saying this because I used to work at ESPN, but like this game day this weekend is going to be insufferable. It's going to be a whole long Lee Corso tribute, which Lee's a legend and he deserves all of the legendary status. But like, man, I'm just so excited for college football. I just want to talk about Paul, right? And so like, I'm looking forward to Big Noon and all the drama that's going to come with it, and then get me straight to a great game. It's the worst when you go through the whole hour, 2-3 hours of pregame shows, and then all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm so excited for Middle Tennessee at Minnesota. Yay! I'll go run errands. Like, give me a great game at noon. So like, I know Ohio State fans hate it. I love it.
A great game is one thing, but the biggest game of the day, do you have to take the biggest game of the day? Like, I get what you're saying, because I'm with you. So many times you watch those pregames and you're right. You're getting built up for something, and then it's just, like a matchup like you just talked about. But the biggest game, either way, it doesn't matter. Let me ask you this, though. Like, do you believe that Fox, even though contractually Ohio State signed on the dotted line, so it's not like it matters, should they use Ohio State as much as they do? Do you think Ohio State has a valid gripe in how much that they are used as far as carrying the load for Fox, if you will?
Now, here's the thing with Ohio State, and I'll just peek behind the curtain for a second. When I was with ESPN, you remember for a year I was out on game day doing a digital show, and we went to Columbus for one of I might have gone twice, but we went at least once to Columbus. And the crazy thing is that Ohio State at the time was unhappy with ESPN because of the Jim Tressel reporting from a few years before. So they blocked where we could put our set. They blocked when we could do our setup. They made us go into a less ideal place to do everything. They blocked some of our access to the school. Like, it's crazy. Like, Ohio State freaking out over media partnerships is not a new thing. And I kind of look at all of it. I'm like, why? Okay, so even if you don't like the way you're being covered, it's a free advertisement. Like, you're going to get hours of free ads on Fox all day over the fact that you've got this big moment in Columbus. And like, at the end of the day, if reporting for previous years or Portnoy's fandom or whatever it is, if it hurts your feelings, who cares? Like, this is about the visual spectacle of college football. And Columbus is one of the coolest places in the world for the visual spectacle. Just go out there and be the awesome college football city that you are. And don't worry about everybody else's petty drama. Be the bigger place. Be the better one. And take the shine while you can get it.
Well, we have Ohio State, Texas coming up this weekend. Big noon kickoff, but pregame coverage begins for us, at least here on 1410 ESPN Radio at 10:30. Jason, the thing that's, to me, the most fascinating thing about this matchup is the fact that I would have been looking forward to it, whether it was week 2, week 3, week 4, whatever. I think the most interesting element about this is because you have two teams and there's so many, layers to this storyline of this matchup. But I think it's most unique to me because it is week 1. There is no primer game. There's no, you're not playing Ohio. You're not playing Miami of Ohio. You don't get those primer games to at least get your feet wet. You don't have to be a finished product by any means, but you have to be as close to a ready product as possible. And you have two quarterbacks who are making their debut technically as the full-time starters. I think that's the most intriguing part of this matchup is because two powerhouses going head-to-head without primer games the week before. That's what I'm most intrigued by.
Yeah, in fact, Josh Pate, who does a really good work on college football, is now a partner of Yahoo Sports. Pate said the other day that this is the widest variety of outcomes if you look at the models that he's ever seen. And it's because you could convince me either way. I mean, honestly, for all we know, Julian Sain comes out and just absolutely just blows the doors off the thing, and it's incredible. Or, man, it's a lot of pressure, and 3 picks later, this thing's out of hand. And frankly, I don't think there's any more overhyped player in the history of college football than what we're getting right now from Arch. My God, like Arch has done what? In fact, if you go back to last year, Texas desperately needed a mobile quarterback that could run around when their offensive line was having some issues, and Quinn Ewers was obviously a shell of himself. And Sark, who's supposed to be a very good college football coach, never went to Manning, even though those are the exact things that Manning is capable of doing. So, like, this presumption that Arch just steps on the field and because his last name is Manning, like, my brother's got the same last name as me and he's tone deaf. Doesn't mean he can play a musical instrument. Like, I get at some point that we want to make a Manning into the next Manning, but I'd like to see a little bit of it. Like, last time I checked, Shador and Shiloh are not Dion, right? Like, so Arch isn't going to be Peyton and he's not going to be Eli. Let him be Arch. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Arch needs half a season of just getting used to playing college football. Like, I don't think it's going to be easy for him. I don't think he's going to come out in the draft this year. Like, I think this whole Arch thing is the beginning of a low and slow barbecue process. And that's nobody wants that answer in college football. We just want him to be dominant right now.
So Texas is not back.
No. Texas is back to being what Texas is. They're one of the best teams in the country. But my God, I mean, what do we really know about Arch? What do we really know about Sark with Arch? I think those are real questions. And to y'all's point, one of the things that's absolutely delightful, and one of the reasons that even for me as a degenerate, I don't bet on week 1 college football, is that we've seen nothing. So what you're going to have, like, we're going to have weird alignments. We're going to have offsides. We're going to have false starts. We're going to have all of these things. And then you play into the fact that it's a home crowd, like the control and adrenaline for Ohio State and what they're going to have ability-wise in that stadium. Yeah, I think this is a brutal matchup for Texas coming into week 1.
I mean, there's so many matchups. Obviously, the biggest matchup that we want to focus on is the Buckeyes and Texas, but you also have LSU, Clemson, you got Notre Dame, Miami, you got Auburn, Baylor, you got Florida State, Bama, you got Nebraska, UC. It's so many other matchups out there outside of the Ohio State, Texas matchup. Which one are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I think Notre Dame's going to crush Miami. I think Notre Dame's going to just remind all what, like, Carson Beck ain't him. Like, and I don't know why suddenly we're presuming Carson Beck is him. So Notre Dame's going to quickly be like, you paid how much for him? So, but I think the most interesting matchup, because frankly, if you look at the top 10, there are 3 teams that don't have as big a question mark when it comes to their coach and quarterback combinations. That's LSU. That's Penn State, obviously, because they're bringing most of that quarterback, and that's Clemson. So if I'm looking at top 10 and I'm saying, what do I trust? Well, I should be able to trust Klubnik. Obviously, at this point, I should be able to trust Nussmeier. Can I trust Kelly to win a week 1 game? No, right? So I'm looking at LSU thinking, man, right away, this is about which coach do I trust more, and I trust Dabo more. So that's like the fact that we a year ago were ready to give up on Clemson for not using the transfer portal, and now Clemson has a very legitimate shot at a national championship run this year. So I think LSU Clemson has huge ramifications for the entire season. That one actually could end up being, of all the games, including Texas, Ohio State, I think that one could end up being the closest game in the end.
It's a big domino effect going on with Clemson. Obviously, they take Penn State's defensive coordinator. They take Ohio State's defensive coordinator. So it's a domino effect. I'm big on Clemson this year. I'm big on Klubnik. I think Klubnik is going to be the first quarterback off the board in the NFL draft. Hopefully my Pittsburgh Steelers draft him. I know you got a former Pittsburgh Steeler on your roster now because you guys traded for Kenny Two Gloves out there in Raidersville. But I mean, college football, do you see a favorite team out there? Do you see a overall number 1 team that, look, I'm calling it right now, that's the team that's going to win it, and then come, January, that's the team that's going to hoist the trophy?
So it should be Penn State, and just depth of talent across the board. I said to somebody the other day that Andy Staples, I think it was. I said to Andy Staples, I was like, yeah, it's Franklin. Franklin never wins the big game. And he said to me without hesitation, how many of those big games that we're talking about had Penn State been the better football team? And that one really stopped me. I stopped in my tracks. You go to think about some of these losses, and you're like, you know what? You're right. Penn State's not usually clearly better than their opponent. You look at at Penn State, and you've got, again, familiarity, quarterback and coach. You've got second year with an offensive coordinator that is, I think, one of the brightest and most creative in college football. There is so much continuity. Yeah, they don't have Abdul Carter, obviously. That's different. But Penn State, or Tyler Ward, who's a cheat code, right? Like, take Tyler Ward in your fantasy football leagues. Y'all don't make life complicated. But if you start looking across the board, I think Penn State has so much talent. I really trust Penn State. And then you say, well, I don't trust James Franklin. Okay, well, we didn't trust Ryan Day till he won a national championship. We didn't trust Kirby till he won a national championship. Like, this is the normal thing. Until they win one, the narrative is they can't win one. So I feel like this should be James. If James Franklin doesn't win a national championship this year, then we got to have some real conversations. But I also trust Clemson. I want to trust LSU as that third team. I have Brian Kelly issues.
I have issues with Brian Kelly. They've been tremendous on offense, but their defense has not been the LSU Tigers defense since he took over.
Yeah, you're being kind. They've been trash. That defense has just been garbage. And, like, how in the SEC do you have a garbage defense? Like, I do think we need to change our SEC conversation a little bit, because everybody's like, oh, it's the SEC in physical football. No, it isn't. Hasn't been that for a decade. Like, once Saban started busting out into widespread offenses all over the place, like, once Saban modernized, then everybody did. So I don't think the defenses in the SEC are really any better than anywhere else, but LSU's defense is just flat out bad. So yeah, I have some trust issues on that side of the ball too. So I think all of that. Look, the Big 12's cute this year. They're going to get a few teams in the college football playoff. They've got some good football teams. That's condescending of me, but I don't put the Big 12 in the same the top of the Big 12 is not in the same category as the top of the rest. And, I feel like Penn State, a good shot, Clemson, a good shot. I'd love to add Georgia to that list too, but also I have no idea if Georgia has a quarterback. So again, these quarterbacks this year are wild in college football.
We got Jason Fitz with us here, the Justin Kinner Show, presented by Frickers, live with you here on a Tuesday. Jason, you were bringing up, you guys were talking about James Franklin. And so, the unique thing is, 2 years ago, Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, he had a reputation of not being able to win rivalry games, win the big games. Well, he had to win enough big games to win a national championship. Ryan Day, same narrative last year, not able to win the big games, won enough big games to win the national championship. James Franklin is set up with that same exact challenge from the last two national championships, champions. And they have the same pedigree because it's the most experienced roster in college football, very similar to Michigan and Ohio State the last 2 years, or at least with a lot of experience there. But what would you like, blank or bust? What is it that Penn State has to do? Is it championship or bust? Kevin and I have debated this before. I think now that the playoff has expanded so much, just like in its 12 teams versus 68 teams in the NCAA tournament for basketball, I get it. I just think now the playoff is too wide to put national championship or bust on any team. Maybe you disagree. What is it? What would James Franklin and Penn State have to do this season to satisfy those who have such high expectations for them coming in?
I honestly think they have to at least make the championship game. I don't think you have to win a championship, but you got to make it to that game. Like, look, I said this last year. People laughed at me at the time, but I'm like, as we were prepping for the playoffs, I kept saying, look, you beat Boise State and SMU, and people are just going to say so. Like, and that's real. Like, so you've got, if you're Penn State, you're going to have to come in and at least get that landmark big college football playoff win over against another big brand that's a great team. Like, no excuses. Like, you're going to have to go out and say, hey, yeah, like if Clemson turns out to be one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the country and you beat them in the college football playoff semifinal, okay, you're going to have, but it's got to be that. It's got to be another, like, this can't be, the bully picking on the fat kid in dodgeball. Like, this has got to be the best of the best. And last year was just fat kids in dodgeball getting beat up. And so I say that as a former fat kid in dodgeball. Like, I'm allowed to say that, right? But I think that for James Franklin, he's got to get that big thing. And to me, it feels like national championship, especially the way we're hyping Drew Aller, who, again, I'll buy it when I see it. This whole, like, Drew Aller, first quarterback off the board. I don't know if I'm buying that. But I do think when you've got your guy and you've kept your guy and you've paid to keep a roster in place, man, you got to get to the championship game.
I know you got to get out here in a few. Last thing on the way out. Ryan Day last year, I mean, he was fired, then wasn't fired. He was going to quit. He was going to, last year it was very similar to the very first year of the 14 playoff. It was one of the biggest storylines in championship history. When you look at how Ohio State with the third string quarterback would go on to win a national title. And then last year, another storied national championship run, of course. But the narrative of him not being able to win the big games, yes, that could be put to rest after what happened last year. You beat Tennessee, and you go on and you blow out Oregon in the Rose Bowl, you take care of Texas, and then Notre Dame, and a chance to make it 5 straight wins against high-quality opponents like that against Texas coming up. But you know how finicky Buckeye fans could be. You know how the narratives like to get spun. If they lose to Texas coming up on Saturday, do some of those narratives come creeping back in for Ryan Day? Like, does that how much did that national championship cure as far as the national perception of Ryan Day and the Buckeyes?
Nationally, the perception on Ryan Day and the Buckeyes is incredibly high. Like I think even if they lose to Texas, you look at it and say, okay, like a great football team beat another great football team. We all know that this is really about Michigan. You're asking me about Michigan. And I know that this is the unpopular. I got killed on y'all's show when I said it before. I'll say it again. They don't raise a banner for beating Michigan. And this is where everybody says, well, you don't get it. I do get it. I just don't care. Like at some point, this is the thing. Like, I get it. I understand why you want to beat Michigan, but you know what Michigan didn't do last year? Win the national championship. So you know what they're going to remember in 10 years? Most college football historians are going to look back and they're going to say, oh man, oh yeah, that 2024 season. Yeah, the Ohio State won the national championship that year. Only Ohio State and Michigan fans are going to follow that up with, yeah, but they didn't beat Michigan. Because at the end of the day, they don't raise banners for that. Modern college football has reduced the significance of rivalries. You may not like it. You may not want to accept it. I have. So what you're really asking me is how much pressure is there on Ryan Day to beat Michigan? And the answer to that is stupidly a ton. There shouldn't be. Like, guess what? Like, there's just part of me that just the troll in me, the lover of chaos in me, hopes that they lose to Michigan, like, get smoked by Michigan by 40, and then go out and win the national championship again. I want to see just how far this thing can go. Like, how many titles in a row? If you have a Saban-like run and you win like championship, let's say Ohio State wins 5 straight championships, but they lose all 5 times to Michigan in the process, I still won't care. And I just want to watch the collective explosion of college football fans everywhere when they have to realize that because of college football playoff expansion and the way we do things now, your favorite rival, the Iron Bowl, doesn't matter, right? Alabama wins, loses the Iron Bowl. Who cares? They got to win national championships. Like, the game doesn't matter. Nobody wants to hear it, but it doesn't matter.
I love when we bring on guests who share my same opinion that Kev gets mad at me for. Are you going to get mad at Fitzy?
He has a hard out. He has a hard out.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Well, until next time.
Continue next week.
We'll meet again.
Yeah. We'll meet again next week. That's perfect.
Ohio State, Texas, who wins? Set us up with that.
Ohio State wins. Ohio State wins by a touchdown.
All right. Fair enough. Simple.
Go Bucks.
Jason Fitz, Yahoo Sports, every week going to hang out with us. Appreciate you, Jason. Take care.
Thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate you.
All right. Good stuff. Jason Fitz, appreciate his time. Justin Kidder, Kev Nash, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We'll be right back.
The voice of the Buckeyes, Paul Keels. Ohio State opens the season Saturday, August 30th against Texas. We'll be on the air with the AEP Energy Buckeye pregame show beginning at 10:30 a.m. here on the Ohio State Sports Network from Learfield.
The Cincinnati Bengals get the deal done with Trey Hendrickson. We opened up the show with that. Shout out to Jason Fitz. Appreciate his time. Jason's going to hang out with us every Tuesday for the remainder of this year and through Super Bowl Sunday, of course. So looking forward to having him on weekly. Some other weekly guests that we're going to have on throughout the season. ESPN's Heather Dinich is going to come on regularly throughout the season as we'll talk all things college football with her. And then you just heard the legendary voice right there, Paul Keels. Every Thursday, we'll kick off the show with him as we preview that week's Buckeye matchup. Bobby Carpenter is going to be a rotating guest throughout the season, of course. So really looking forward to that. Byers stopping by on Mondays, on days that he's in for his show. So again, bringing you lots of guests throughout the football season, of course. And then the phone lines are open to you to always get your takes on everything going on in the world of football, whether it's high school football, college football, or the NFL. College football officially kicks off this coming up weekend. Week 2 of high school football, by the way, our ESPN Dayton High School Football Game of the Week coming up this Friday night. Fairmont going to welcome in Trotwood, and Adam Campbell and Josh Copeland will be on the call coming up this Friday night. Looking forward to that. Keith Byers and I will be on the call in week 3 with Springfield at Trotwood. And then we'll have Springfield at Miamisburg over the next couple of weeks as well. Wayne at Fairmont's going to be a good one. Northmont, Wayne, Centerville, Northmont. I mean, we have a lot of really good games throughout the season that we'll be bringing you each and every Friday night. So we're excited for that. But week 2, high school football action. Week 1, college football, Ohio State, Texas. And we talked about that with Jason Fitz just now. If you missed that, we'll have that interview for you later on as well. Follow ESPN Dayton on YouTube. The Justin Kinner Show is on YouTube as well. You can go back and watch all previous episodes, select segments, including all interviews. Download the Justin Kinner Show wherever you get your podcasts as well. Reds, want to talk about them? We're going to get to the Reds coming up in a moment, but they put out the schedule. They put out the schedule for your Cincinnati Reds. And for 2026, I'm sorry. I guess my brain's all scrambled right now. My apologies. Opening day. Okay. In 2022, opening day was on April 7th. In 2023, opening day was March 28th. 2024, it was March 27th. Can you guess what this upcoming is going to be? Can you guess March? Can you guess in for 2026 what it's going to be? What day in March? The 26th. The 26th. It is the earliest. Okay, it is the earliest opening day in Reds history. How about that? Every year they keep moving this schedule up. Every year they keep messing with this. I'm not a fan of that. At some point the weather's going to bite them in the behind, and I just don't think that they care. I mean, I know Cincinnati Reds fans, we're crazy. We're going to be there on opening day no matter what, but I'm really not looking forward to watching Hunter Green pitch on March 26th in freezing temperatures. Now, I've gone the last couple of years. It's been a lot of fun. It's a great experience, no doubt. But man, oh man, I just don't want, I want to go. Baseball is supposed to signal that warm weather is coming. There's a reason that teams in Ohio go to Arizona or Florida for spring training, and that's because, why? I don't know. It's too damn cold here to be playing baseball. But yet, we're going to bring you back from Arizona where they sent you because it's too cold here. We're going to bring you back, and then what? What are you going to do? You're going to play in the cold. I think it's kind of silly at the end of the day. Not a fan of that. We'll get into the Reds more coming up in a moment. Here coming up around the corner, we'll get more into the Cincinnati Reds because last night pissed me off. I'm just going to be blunt. Last night was ridiculous. I'm really getting fed up with the Reds right now. And I'm tired of seeing posts from Lance McAllister and others that are questioning why are people giving up on the Cincinnati Reds who are 2.5 games out. Don't question the fans for giving up on a team that got shut out last night. that Hunter Green, who's supposed to be their ace and the Cy Young candidate, gives up, 5 runs in 5 innings, 99 pitches, gives up 2 home runs, walks a few batters. I'm sorry. I expect more out of Hunter Green at this point of the season. I thought that was ridiculous, guys. Like, I really mean that. That was ridiculous. Ellie De La Cruz, his 20th error on the season. Guys, this team don't stand a chance in hell of making the playoffs if in these big games, your biggest stars are the ones committing the errors. It's one thing if your no-name players that the Reds need to address and improve at certain key positions are messing up. It's frustrating, but you would understand it. Man, what more can Ellie do? Well, Ellie's sometimes being the problem. That was a bad start from Hunter Green last night. And I don't want to hear, oh, man, well, they can't be perfect every night. I get that, but it's the Dodgers. You're on the road. You're the one guy in the rotation. It's a good rotation, but you're the one guy that the Reds, that Terry Francona should not have to worry about on the mound. And I thought he stunk last night. I thought Hunter Green was not good last night. I don't think Ellie De La Cruz was good last night either. Going 0 for 4, striking out twice. Yes, it does sound like I'm flip-flopping on the Cincinnati Reds, but the Reds are flip-flopping. They'll win a series, lose a series, win a series, lose a series, lose a series, lose a series, win a series, lose a series. There's a reason they're only a couple games above 500, Ron. So just when you think you figure this team out, they remind you why Shaw and some of the others are very, very hesitant to buy in. But last night was different, because the Reds had lost games before where their non-talented players were kind of a thorn in their side. They played the Milwaukee Brewers last week or week before, whenever it was, and they lost a game because their superstar player, Ellie De La Cruz, couldn't throw it to first base. They lost a game last night because their Cy Young candidate pitcher had a non-efficient outing, walking batters, only striking out 2, giving up 3 runs, or giving up 5 runs, 3 of those earned, giving up 6 hits. I'm sorry, but when I think it's more demoralizing when you lose games that your stars lost you. Ellie lost that game last night. Hunter Green lost that game last night. How about the bottom 4 in the order? Okay, the last 4 batters last night go combined 0 for 13 with 4 strikeouts. Ellie De La Cruz hitting in the 3 spot. You add him into that. All right, you add him into that. Now we're talking about 0 for 17 with 6 strikeouts. I'm sorry, I'm going to be very aggressive on Ellie De La Cruz, because this is a guy that's going to think he's too good to be here in a few years. And yet, while he is here, not having his biggest games when the Reds need him most. Is anyone else mad about that? Am I overreacting? I don't think I am. It is one thing if your non-talented players come up short against the Dodgers. It is one thing if your non-talented players cost you a game against the Dodgers. It's a completely different conversation when Ellie and Hunter Green are why you lost to the Dodgers last night. Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz, I put in the future Dodger category. But yet, they're why they lost to the Dodgers last night. So I am going to be critical. Ellie De La Cruz, it's just a fundamental ground ball. What are we doing? But Barry Larkin, if I have to hear Barry Larkin's name one more damn time about how many times he had so many X amount of errors in his, early season, I don't care. I don't care. When Ellie stops committing these errors, there won't be criticism. While there's errors, there's criticism. I don't know what we're like. And a lot of times it's a lot of like older people that are well older than me. They like to tell me how soft my generation is, how we always need a trophy and a pat on the head. But yet you're the soft ass fans that are sitting here telling, well, just be patient. He's young. He's young. He just give him a few years, by golly, and he'll get it. But yet your generation's the one that calls my generation soft. I don't get that. I don't want you guys to be picketing outside the Great American Ballpark saying to get rid of Ellie De La Cruz by any means. But guys, last night, that was ridiculous. It really was. I mean, the Reds were within striking distance, but the game was done. With the second Ellie let that ball go through his legs and they scored a couple more runs, insurance runs, it was over. I'm going to repeat myself one more time. It is one thing if your non-star players don't show up against the Dodgers and you lose. That happens. And then you know what happens? I'm going to crack this mic and say, come on, Nick Krall, you got to get better talent around these guys. Example of that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they weren't why the Bengals lost all those games last year. Those dudes showed up every single week, which is why they got not from me necessarily, but that's why they get a pass from so many people, because everyone was able to look at their stars and say, man, it's upsetting that you're losing all these games, but they're doing their part. Last night, Hunter Green was not doing his part, and Ellie did not do his part. And that's a problem. You know, there's a reason that everybody sympathized with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and they said, man, come on, Duke Tobin, Katie Blackburn, Brown family, come on now. You're generational talent, and you're wasting it. They're the bad guys. Right now, you guys want to talk about, well, Nick Kroll needed to get this, and Nick Kroll needed to get that. Ellie De La Cruz needs to get down in a stance and field a freaking ground ball. How about that? How about that? Hunter Green? I mean, it's not your fault you've been injured all year, but you've missed 12-plus starts this year because you can't stay healthy. You missed a lot of games last year because you can't stay healthy. The least you could do when you're healthy is show up and put your team in a position to beat a team like the Dodgers. Now, I get it. I'm being overly critical because Hunter Green has been money more nights than not. But last night was a night where the Reds desperately needed him to be money. I don't care what the reason is. I don't care, oh, well, you're going to have that sometime. No. You're from your star players who are going to get paid a crap ton of money someday. No, they don't get to have off nights. I mean, they're going to. Doesn't mean that they're immune to criticism. At least not from this show. Not from me. Man, Ron Howard says throwing errors and strikeouts, same story. I mean, yeah. Yep. Chad says agree 100%. And just to be clear, because I have to throw this disclaimer out there, I'm an Ellie fan. I'm a Hunter Green fan. I'm a Reds fan. But I've always been consistent on this show. I will never, ever not be critical of players on the team I follow just because I'm a fan. I think that you're a bad fan if you just every time your star players don't show up and consistently make mistakes in big moment of games. You're a bad fan if you condone it and just let them get away with it. A lot of you were bad fans with Joey Votto. You guys were content with Joey Votto not having a competitive bone in his body. You guys were content with that. I wasn't. Constantly called him out. I got ripped every single show. That's fine. But it is what it is. I tell you what, we'll step away for a few moments. Again, it's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Dave Portnoy, did Ohio State actually ban him? And let's say that they did. Okay, I know they came out and they said they didn't, but come on. There's enough stuff out there to prove that maybe they did. Did they have the right to do it? Should they have done it? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? We'll get to that when we come back. Are you Team Portnoy or Team Buckeye on this? We'll discuss when we come back. All right, then we are back. Justin Kinner with you here, Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM. Ann Anderson, she responds to a Reds conversation saying that the Reds never perform well on the West Coast, haven't for 50-plus years, but I agree. If they are serious about making a playoff push, they all need to step up, and I even stayed up to listen to it. And I really need my beauty sleep. Ann, thank you for listening. If you missed the last part of the show, I was like 7-0. The Reds get shut out last night. I'm over it. I'm not giving up. 30-plus games left on the season. So it's one of those where that's not a lot of time, but that's a lot of games. They're running out of time, but they have games, if that makes sense. Like, it's just, I'm at the point now where the only reason the Reds are mathematically still in this, it's not because of something that they're doing. It's something that the Mets aren't doing. And that's, well, winning the way that they're supposed to. The Mets are constructed to win a lot of games. They were financially put together to compete in October. And right now they're trying to find every way possible not to get there. So it's just one of those where, you know, I saw a post earlier today mocking fans saying, I can't believe that the Reds are 2.5 games out and yet everyone's giving up. I just don't understand it. Stop acting like you don't understand it. You know, you understand it. And if you don't understand it, then I have a lot of questions. But I understand it. You know, when you're face of the franchise, superstar shortstop, can't field a fundamental ground ball consistently, and he's supposed to be a guy that is so good that we're already bidding farewell to him because he's already wearing Dodger blue, constantly makes mistakes in big moments of games against the biggest teams. Guys, like, he made the critical error that cost the Reds runs in Game 2 against the Brewers that the Reds ultimately lost, a game that they had the lead for pretty much the entire game. They lost. He lets a fundamental routine ground ball right between his legs last night, gives up multiple runs, and although the Reds were down already at that moment, that definitely secured the deal for the Dodgers because between Hunter Green, the face of the franchise, between Elly De La Cruz, the face of the franchise, committing his 20th error of the season, by the way, and you have Hunter Green, who, again, he's been money more times than not. But it doesn't mean that I just give him a pass for not showing up last night. That was ridiculous. I'm going to be very, very critical. I hold my star players to a lot higher standards than the role players. You know, I see people get mad at Trevino. I see people get mad at all the role players. But yet when Elly messes up, well, you know, you look for every excuse in the playbook. Like I said earlier, my favorite's the Barry Larkin one. Barry Larkin, you know, he was 23 years old. He was, you know, he was committing errors too. I don't care. I don't care. And if I was alive back when he played and Twitter existed and I was on radio, I'd be bitching about it then too. But I do know that if I was alive and doing the show back when Barry Larkin was playing and he was committing errors in his early 20s, the Justin Kinner show, you would have tuned in and it would have been me saying, Barry Larkin has to be better. He can't be committing all those errors. And then years later, when he stopped committing all those errors, the Justin Kinner show, Justin Kinner would have been saying, man, so much fun watching a shortstop not commit errors. Yeah, that's how this works. So when he gets to the point where he's not committing errors, guess what? Kinner won't be complaining about him committing errors because he won't be committing errors, and he shouldn't be committing this many errors. And it's not just the errors. Errors are going to happen. But it's the timing in which they happen. It's the moments in which they happen. It's the games in which they happen. You lost a game against the Brewers. You played a role in the loss last night against the Dodgers. These are series and games that you need. So, yes, I'm being very, very critical. Very, very critical as far as that's concerned. But nonetheless. All right. Ohio State, you know. Look, the Dave Portnoy thing, by the way, I think Dave Portnoy is absolutely hilarious. I think he trolls my team. But I think he does it in such an entertaining way that I don't think I've ever once got mad at Dave Portnoy. In fact, when you give someone like him material, that's on you. Ohio State has given that dude so much material over the years that as a fan, I can't be mad at that. That's why I get mad, like, you know, half the time, you know, when you guys, like, I know when I'm making good points because whenever you go to insults right away, that's how I know I'm making good points. When you can't counteract anything with good quality points, you just start making fun of me. And that's how trolls work. And that's basically, you know, kind of what's going on in this particular situation. He says a lot of things about Ohio State that are true. Ohio State has been soft for quite a few years. Ohio State has been pushed around and punched around by Michigan. Michigan has done a lot of winning in recent years, and they, won the Big Ten a few times. They win to get to the national championship. They win a national championship. So it was fun watching his come up as far as that's concerned. And then I love Fox's decision to add him to the Big Noon Kickoff pregame show. ESPN Game Day was getting kind of stuffy and stale. And they went out and they added Pat McAfee, which was one of the best decisions they ever made because it just brought an influx of energy. And for all of you out there who say that you don't like Pat McAfee, that's fine. There's way more people who do, which is why that show has been so dominant. Pat McAfee is why Dave Portnoy exists or will exist on Big Noon Kickoff moving forward, because Big Noon Kickoff was getting kind of stuffy and just kind of boring. And I love the Urban Meyer segments, but outside of that, there was really no reason for me to tune into the Big Noon Kickoff outside of Urban Meyer. Dave Portnoy is going to bring a significantly younger audience that Pat McAfee brought to ESPN, and it's going to be a fun, rivaling show back and forth. I still think ESPN's Game Day is better. You have Kirk Herbstreit, you have Fowler, you obviously have Nick Saban, you have Pat McAfee, but there was only one guy I think that the Big Noon Kickoff could have added to go at ESPN, and that's Portnoy. So I respect the hell out of the fact that they got Portnoy. Now, the report that came out yesterday that Ohio State has banned Dave Portnoy. Ross Bjork came out today, the athletic director for Ohio State, and said that they didn't ban him, that it's technically Fox's fault because Fox did not put him on the panel list of sitting at the desk, which I'm really confused by that. Pat McAfee sits at the desk. Unless I'm misunderstanding this, someone correct me, but why would Dave Portnoy not be at the desk? He's going to be a panelist on the show, right? Unless he's not going to be the one, at halftime and this, that, and the other. I have no idea. But Fox, if you're going to bring Dave Portnoy on, bring Dave Portnoy on. Portnoy on. Like, he needs to have full access. He needs to be on every piece of content you have. That's their best shot at being relevant. Because right now, the only thing that the Fox Big Noon Kickoff is known for is ruining college football with putting the biggest games at freaking noon every single week. I'm tired of that blank. As if you can't tell, the Band Noon Kickoff shirt, I've worn this quite a few times, and I'm going to order another one just because I need it to stay looking crisp. I'm going to wear this so many times, especially every time Ohio State's playing at noon. This is the shirt I'm wearing on game day. It's ridiculous. Fox stinks. The only smart move they've made in recent years is getting Urban Meyer to be on that panel and to get Dave Portnoy. Now, I say all this. Justin Smith says, Portnoy is such a blank bag. I mean, okay, you're a Buckeye fan. He bags on your Buckeyes. I get it, but I think he's entertaining as hell, and that's why he's on that panel. I find it all to be very intriguing, by the way, because Urban Meyer, a Buckeye, on that same panel with Dave Portnoy, who Dave Portnoy has absolutely destroyed Urban Meyer. He's absolutely destroyed Ryan Day in Ohio State, and Ohio State is pretty much on Big Noon Kickoff every single week. So I love the drama, the intrigue. I'm intrigued by it. I'm going to tune in to College Game Day. I'm going to tune into the Big Noon Kickoff because I'm fascinated to see what that dynamic is going to be like. So banning him, and they said that they didn't. I believe Ohio State, who was used to getting their way on everything, was trying to find a way to keep him out of the stadium. And I think it's soft. So and this is all you do. Like, they're too dumb to understand that when you swing at Dave Portnoy, you're going to look bad in that situation. You're not like you look soft. If anything, have the ego. You are the Ohio State University. You just won a national championship. With great pride, you should welcome Dave Portnoy onto your campus. Yes, he's going to troll. He's going to say his whatever. Let him. You are the defending, reigning national champions. Why are you trying to keep someone off your campus that is a fan of your rival school? That's soft, man. But at the same time, I love the wrinkle to all of this. This rivalry, Jason Fitz earlier said that this rivalry doesn't matter. This rivalry matters. I've always been an advocate of saying that it's not everything. This rivalry matters big time, but it is not everything. Like I said, the moron fans that said, "Man, I'd rather beat Michigan than win a national championship." I don't respect that opinion at all, not even a little. Oh, but you should respect everyone's opinions. Not that one. Not that one. I think he's entertaining. And by the way, the fact that the fact that he garnered a reaction out of all of you, Dave Portnoy was the right addition. He was the perfect addition. There was not one other person. No, because he doesn't know football. Or he doesn't know football enough to be able to bring him on. Like Shane Gillis would have been absolutely killer. But again, he's a comedian. He's not a football guy. Dave Portnoy is not really a football guy, but again, he works in the sports world, so it makes sense. Bottom line is there was nobody else that the Big Noon Kickoff could have added to their panel to combat Pat McAfee and the impact he's had on game day, except this one. By the way, still not better. Dave Portnoy is not better than Pat McAfee, but he's the only one that you could have added to that panel to combat Pat McAfee. So I hats off to the Big Noon Kickoff, and I think it's paying off already. I don't know who it was in the chat. Someone said earlier that some of this is being manufactured just to get more people talking about it or whatever. Maybe, but I truly believe Ohio State hates Dave Portnoy. Dave Portnoy truly hates Ohio State. And I believe that this was all damage control. But if I'm Ohio State, see, and the other problem I have too, if you banned him, I think that's soft, but own banning him. Again, even when Ohio State, you're soft for banning him, and then you're soft for walking it back. Will you just take a stance on something? Come out and say, yeah, Dave Portnoy, you support a cheating program, you bum. We don't want you on our campus. Okay. Soft, weak, but that's your stance. Stick to it. Stop with the back and forth. Then you come out and say, oh, no, this was a technicality based on, the way Fox set this up. Oh, stop. Stop acting like you are just excited to have Dave Portnoy on your campus. Just own it. Just own it. I will respect that way more than this hiding behind some PR script to save face because they got destroyed on social media. And rightfully so. It is a soft move to ban Dave Portnoy. It is. You're going to let, Desmond Howard's, bum behind on your campus all the time with all the moronic things he says. And yet that's fine. But Dave Portnoy, that's where you draw the line. Stop it. Stop it. If I'm Ryan Day, if I'm Ross Bjork, if I'm Ohio State, I want him on campus because I want him to be here on campus experiencing us continue to be national championship caliber. But this is a soft behavior, in my opinion. So there you go. There you go. It is what it is. You know me. I hate Michigan. Okay. I hate it, but I'm not going to lie to you. When I see Dave Portnoy's face pop up after a Michigan win and an Ohio State loss, I do laugh. I laugh. I think he's funny as hell. I think he's the ultimate troll. I think he's very, very good at it. And yeah, I think he adds a layer to the rivalry that makes it more entertaining. Because the only way to enhance a rivalry is to make it entertaining. Because that's the thing about rivalries anymore. They're not entertaining. This rivalry now with Ohio State, Michigan has become entertaining. I care what Dave Portnoy is going to say. I care to see how College Game Day and Big Noon Kickoff, I care to see how differently they're going to cover it or similar or whatever. I care. They're making me care. I care about Ohio State, Michigan in a week that Ohio State, Texas play because of everything going on with Dave Portnoy. This is a win. It's a win for Fox. It was a potential win for Ohio State, but they had to look soft in the process because now instead of talking about the buildup to defending your national championship, we're worried about you banning some sports media guy. It's just soft, man. I don't like it, but nonetheless. All right, 937-518-1410. Shaw, did you think I was going to agree with you? What did you think that I was going to think?
Honestly, for how those type of takes have come out the past couple of years, I actually did think you were going to agree with me, believe it or not.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I thought it was really soft. Did. If I'm Ohio State, it would just be an afterthought, They could do, yeah, like UD's never banned me from going to their arena. They just buried me way up top after, they used to have me sitting, courtside. And then when I wasn't kissing the ring, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you got to take the elevator. And, you're way up there. Yeah. Like they could at least do that. They would never ban me, but my goodness, they're going to make my experience not as great. That's what they could have done for Dave Portnoy.
Right. I fully expected them when it was announced that he was going to be on with Fox Big Noon. I fully expected Ohio State to make it difficult and not make it easy. But I would have never guessed or told you or betted you or anything that they would have just completely outright banned him altogether. And for anybody to sit there and say, oh, they were protecting him because he was going to get beat up or whatever, well, then you just don't understand how adult life works, because there would have been there's going to be there's so much security around any of those shows that's there. Like no human being's going to get to him at any point in time.
And if they do, they would have to go through extreme measures to do it. When I went to the Rose Bowl, because we went and we found where the Fox panel was set up. I mean, they have a barricade with a huge pocket around them to keeping them separate from the fans. I mean, like, and it's just and also like, let's not. Oh man, he's going to get his ass whooped and blah blah blah. If Dave Portnoy does, it's because he's going out into the fans, instigating stuff. But at the same time, like that's also Fox's responsibility to manage. Stop acting like Ohio State. They're trying to be the do-gooders and we're protecting him. Oh, stop! You're not protecting him. Deep down, you probably want it to happen. Let's be real. It's Fox's responsibility to protect him, but don't use that cowardly excuse. Yeah, I thought that was soft at the end of the day.
I 100%. And at the end of the day, what are you actually really doing? You're probably giving Portnoy exactly what he wants anyway.
Oh,
you punch Portnoy, that is going viral in less than 5 seconds.
Ask Roger Goodell how that worked. I mean, it's insane. And some of the best content he's put out was sneaking in to the Super Bowl and all that other stuff and everything like that. And by the way, all that doesn't, if you're Roger Goodell, who runs a $1 billion industry, giving attention to him, and he's not like a nobody, but you're the commissioner of the National Football League, and you're spending time trying to find ways to ban him. You know, the Ohio State University just won a national championship and finding ways to keep him out. I don't care that their athletic director came out and said that that's not the case. I know how these universities work. They're very manipulative. They're not going to come out and say you're banned, but they are going to manipulate things to make your experience not so great. Trust me.
And I'm with you too. It doesn't make any sense if Fox is going to hire him to be on the crew. There's no way they're not going to write his name down on the sheet saying that he's on the panel. He's on the desk. So the whole entire response just makes it look even softer. But
real quick though, do you find it interesting that they, knowing how much he hates Ohio State and he has crapped all over Urban Meyer, and there's the animosity between Ohio State and Fox, like it does seem. And I'm not like, oh, boo-hoo for Ohio State. I'm just saying it just seems like Fox has no regard for the interests of Ohio State whatsoever. And that's not like I'm not doing the Homer, oh, boo-hoo, everyone's out to get us thing. But I'm trying to figure out who hates who more. Ohio State hates Fox for continuously putting them at noon and riding their coattails every single week. But Fox sometimes does some stuff that I'm like, man, they don't give a rip what Ohio State thinks about them either. This Dave Portnoy thing, they didn't have to do this. They're doing it even though they know it's going to piss off the Ohio State brass, and it obviously has. That's what led to this news this week.
I'll take my Michigan stuff off, and I'll meet you halfway on that one, and sit there and say, yeah, it's a move that I think ultimately they don't care about because they're getting exactly what they want out of it. They're getting the clicks, they're getting the talks, they're getting everything out of it, what they want. But right now with Ohio State being the biggest name in the conference, so all of their big games are at noon. It looks like the Big Ten is not Big Ten. Sorry. Fox is crapping on Ohio State, but I will rewind back to 2021 and I'll put my Michigan stuff back on. Nobody around here was talking about this, obviously, because it's Michigan, but go back to 21, 22, and 23 and look at who was on all the noon games at that point in time. It was a certain team wearing maize and blue. Now that could also go into the feeding of what you're talking about right now.
I don't think, and this is not to stir the pot, I don't think it was because like Michigan was the biggest sports story week in and week out
in 23
in 23, like they were the biggest sports story. So they were the best. They were one of the best teams. Yes. But I think they were one of the biggest draws just because of all the drama and the black cloud that was following that program for those years.
I would agree with you if it was just 23. But almost every one of our games in 21 and 22 were at noon as well. And they were all pretty much all on Fox. So I will go with the good. I'll keep my maize and blue on. That's because that they were probably arguably, if not one of the best teams in the Big Ten at that point in time. And now you fast forward to 2025, 24, 25, and probably even moving to 26. Yeah, Ohio State, that's what the Big Ten got into it for. That's what they signed the money for. That's what they're collecting the checks for, is to put the scarlet and gray on at noon. And like, you play Texas, yeah, they're darn right going to play that game at noon o'clock. Here's a little foreshadowing to week 2 of 2026. Oklahoma will be going to Ann Arbor. Guess when that game will be played? Noon. So, I mean, now where I've met Ohio State fans halfway with all of this, and it was when it was announced, 5-6 years ago when Fox did this. I don't remember exactly fully when they went to Big Noon. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. There's no reason why Texas Ohio State isn't being played at night. There's no reason why some of the big games that Michigan had in that 21-23 run, why those games weren't played at night. It's all grotesque to me, because it's just well, we're going to collect our money, and then on the back end of it, we're going to whine and complain about it as well. So we get money on both sides of it. But it is what it is. But and if it wasn't for Dave Portnoy, we wouldn't even have a Pat McAfee. That gets forgotten too. So.
Yep. And Pat McAfee and Urban Meyer doesn't get along with him either. So they're
no, they do not. But about the Trey stuff, I told you if the Bengals did what they were going to do, I was going to come on here and I was going to rip that organization. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. I agree with you to the point that they Peyton Bunch had to do what they had to do. Where I disagree with you is if they paid $14-15 million to Trey Hendrickson, then they could have paid $14-15 million to some other young defensive end that they could have went and got 4 or 5 months ago, and they could have just let Trey Hendrickson walk or do whatever he was going to do. I get tired of this organization sitting back, doing what they have to do at the very last minute, and then somewhat reaping benefits for it. It's not happening with me this time. They are a chicken bleep organization. They are the cheapest organization in sport. I don't care. You can throw out Formula One. You could throw out tennis. I don't care what it is. Throw any professional sport out there to me. They are the cheapest organization in sport. And it's absolutely ridiculous. What they did to those Hall of Fame guys and to the Ring of Honor guys and what they're doing to them. You're a $1 billion organization, and you can't pay for a flight, and you can't pay for a hotel. And not only that, you're not even going to buy them seats into the suites. You're going to buy them just regular seats out there in the lower common area. Like, all of it is ridiculous. It's petty, and it just shows an organization that is clueless to this day and age of anything in sports, media relations. What you did to the pregnant lady of the football player, the list just goes on and on and on and on and on. And I can't be the double standard. I can already hear in your voice, and I can hear in all of the Ohio State fans. But there's no way I could root for that organization. There's absolutely no way I could root for that organization. You're not going to treat all your Hall of Fame. You don't even have that many Hall of Fame players as it is to begin with. And the couple you do have, that's how you're going to react. That's how you're going to treat them. It's sickening. It's gross. And before I get out of here, there's no way I'm getting out of here before I talk about Ellie. Like, we want to sit here and prop this man on a pedestal, and you want to sit there and talk about how he's going to go to the Dodgers and how he's going to go elsewhere. Fellas and ladies, I'm not even 100% sure that the Dodgers would even want him right now. And I don't understand why Tito can't see the fact that this man's tired and he needs to take a break. And I understand we're in the stretch, and we have the most important games that the Reds have faced in the last couple of years, and blah, 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 we're nothing if he's not in the lineup. Well, he's not doing anything for the Reds in the lineup right now. In the last 10 games since the Brewers game started, he struck out 13 times and 43 at-bats. We're back over 30% strikeout rate again, that whole number that the Reds wanted to pump out to us the last 2 months. He's hit 1 home run since June 23rd. 1. And that last home run was July 31st. He's had 3 RBIs in the last 10 games, and starting with the Brewers series. And how many errors? 4. 4 errors in the last 10 days. 4 of them. 2 stolen bases all month. None during the stretch of important games, starting with the Brewers. Like, the list goes on and on and on. 3 walks. So you're not going to hit home runs. We're not hitting for power. We're not hitting the ball to the gap. We're not doing anything that made you important from June of 23 moving forward. We're going to regress and do this contact hitting thing. Well, at least hit me RBIs. How many RBIs you got? 3. He's got 10 more strikeouts than RBIs. Sooner or later, this city is going to wake up to what Ellie is, and it's not about his flashy little gold necklaces around his neck. It's not about how many gloves he wears when he actually does get on base. Yes, he might be the fastest man in baseball. What'd that do for Billy Hamilton? What'd that do for Billy Hamilton? Absolutely nothing. He was out of the league in less than 5 years. This guy will be out of the league in less than 5 years until he gets his head out of his rear end, actually starts working on fundamental baseball, and gets back to just shutting up and playing baseball. That's all I got. Go Blue.
No. Damn it. You still pretty much said the phrase I'm not like you to say. We're not praising that cheating team up north on this show. No, Shaw. No. Just saying. The Justin Kinder Show, presented by Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun, food, sports, and spirits.